Well, the ag market is facing its third week without USDA harvest data as the government shutdown does continue. However, combines are still making headway across the country. Elizabeth Strom with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers joins us now with the latest from her region. Elizabeth, always great to see you. Thanks for being here. So let's talk about it. How are things progressing overall? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so harvest is well underway here in central Illinois. Soybean harvest in the center part of the state is about 80 to 90% done. We've had some unseasonably warm weather, and farmers were out in the field and had some really long days. We didn't have the dew that we typically see in the mornings, so they were cutting soybeans as quickly as they could. So we've seen a lot of those soybeans being harvested. Yield wise, we're seeing a huge variety in yields, going from 55 bushel up to 80 plus bushel. There's actually been some farmers that have had some record soybean yields this year, which certainly was a surprise to them. And corn wise, we're seeing about 70% is harvested in the center part of the state. There are some farmers that are actually wrapping up with harvest completely, which is definitely ahead of schedule compared to what we've seen in prior years. We received some rain, some much needed rain over the weekend. And there were some farmers that were actually wrapping up harvest prior to that rain event that we had. The rain was much needed to give the farmers a break and also just to try to restore some of that moisture because we have been so incredibly dry. It's been such a dry fall and a dry harvest season. And so we're definitely looking forward to hopefully getting some rain here once we get harvest wrapped up.
Yeah, hearing about some of these producers wrapping up at this point, and some a little bit earlier, it's something that we've been talking to about, across the region with many producers. Any issues with storage? Are you hearing that?
I have not heard a lot on storage issues. There certainly has not been an issue with dryers because the crop is very, very dry. And so we haven't really seen a lot of backup on that.
Of course, planning for 2026 growing season. What's going on there? What are you hearing?
Yeah, so now's the time where we start buying inputs for the 2026 growing season. And at this point, it is pretty concerning, and that's been kind of the conversation among farmers. We have seen an increase in fertilizer prices, specifically nitrogen and phosphorus. Potash is actually near its pre-2020 levels, so that's a positive. But chemical prices have gone up, as well as seed and machinery cost. So in conversations with farmers, they certainly are trying to figure out where they can maybe reorganize or change the way that they're doing things, just to give them a little bit more profit margin as we look into 2026.
Elizabeth, we're out of time, but real quick, auction season, latest there. What are we seeing?
Yeah, so we are heavy into auction season. Farmland values seem to be holding pretty stable. There's a few sales here and there that slip through, a couple no sales here and there, which we haven't seen quite as many in prior years. But overall, farmland is still a good investment and is still appreciating.
Always great stuff. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you very much. Elizabeth Strom with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers.